Just a few orders of business before we get going. Welcome everybody. This is the IG Inspect portion of the 4 days of EnerGov orientation and training. This is a specialist portion. We're going to be talking about the IG Inspect app. Now, keep in mind that the purpose of these 4 days of training is very targeted. We are here to prepare our EnerGov subject matter experts to be able to perform their testing in the upcoming test and training phase of our project. To that end, we're keeping the scope kind of focused, but this one's a little bit different. This particular one, oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you. Sorry. One of the benefits of being home is your daughter can bring you a cup of coffee. Thank you, Emily. The scope has been kind of narrow. We've been focused on just the deliverables for the project, but this is different. This is where we're talking more about the application. It's the IG Inspect app. So we booked a good chunk of time here. We don't know if we'll need all of the time, but we like to open the field for questions. The more interaction we get, clearly the better responses we get. You're welcome to leave questions in the comments box of this application. I'll keep an eye on that and I'll relay that. Don't hesitate to chime in with questions if you've got them. Also, the real estate on your screen, if you're seeing a lot of real estate being taken across the top of the screen with people's blank spaces, and you'll see me with my camera on, you can lift that up. If you just lift that one bar up, and you'll be able to see more of Jason's presentation. Last thing, we've been having intermittent technical problems today with GoToMeeting. The last meeting I was in, I'm the meeting host. I got kicked out of the meeting, and Jason, I'll have to catch up with you. I don't know how that meeting ended without me, but if that happens again, I will just leave things running, because I think if I shut the meeting down, it kills it for everybody. And also, that should do it. I think that's it. Jason, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I just want to make one caveat before going forward. Currently, you can see the EnerGov screen behind me, behind this mirroring app. I had to exit out of the VPN, so currently I'm logged out of the VPN, so I can't. That's why you'll have to see that errors going on with it, because I just exited it abruptly. Since to mirror it, I can't be on the VPN without my iPad being on the VPN. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. So I can't be going in and out of the system for this demo that clearly. So for this demo, though, I did set up 7 inspections that are currently scheduled or requested for Merit. And I made Merit the ability to do inspections for multiple departments just for this exercise. That way I could show just how it can work. If there are multiple inspectors for multiple departments, they can look at multiple different ones. So currently this is the map from Ventura, and this is using, I believe, almost like an iPad-like map, or a maps from from an Apple device. But it also has the functionality of the parcel information as well, so that was brought over.
Jason, can I interrupt for just a second?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, some people, myself included, are not really very familiar with IG Inspect. In fact, I can't even spell it. I was wondering if you could maybe just tell us a little bit about the purpose of the app and the like before we jump into the details.
No, that's fine. Yes.
Jason, I'm sorry too, Jason. Okay. And this is going to be, I just want to be clear on my end too. This demonstration you're giving is as if the inspectors are out in the field on their iPads, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so these things have already been scheduled or requested in advance, and they also have the ability, and I'll show you that, but IG Inspect is for the inspectors for, depending on, it doesn't matter what department, as long as their inspections are in EnerGov, they have the ability to look at the permits that are involved with it, look at the additional info, and look at previous inspections, as well as if any attachments are added to it. So let's say you get a review plan. Once that review plan is completed, whoever is, let's say, attached to the case, any technician can add those plans to the attachments. That way any inspectors can review those plans at need be. And I only added the plans to, I believe, 1 permit, so I will show that to you when that happens. So this is what Merit has. She has 7 inspections. If I go to the split screen over here, these list out all the inspections that are scheduled as well as completed over here, that one's passed, as well as requested. And so they have the addresses here as well. They also have the contacts who are requesting and who also scheduled the inspections with. So just as an example, I'm just going to go into the AST one. And I'm just going to hit review. And so I know there was a lot of talk about, what is actually, associated to this permit, as well as, associated to this address, as, to see if there's multiple permits addressed to it. So currently you can see in here, this is the inspection record, as well as the parcel information as the location information. The parent record, which is right here, as well as the parcel information. And so it also has the type, work class, and the status of the permit currently going on. It also has, description, the project name, the district, as you can pull in square feet and valuation from here, as well as the expiration date, last inspection date, and additional info. And so if I just hit this additional info right here, it also has, so it has all the additional info that would be in that case. And if they're out in the field, inspectors could also edit these inspections. So let's say if they're installing, if originally on here they said they were installing, I don't know, 2 above ground tanks, you could go in here and edit that and, and say, well, we see, 6 above ground tanks, and you can hit commit to that as well and make those changes to the case that would reflect back into the EnerGov app. And so while that is also going on, you also can see, so if I hit the parcel information right here, by looking at the parcel, I can see any other permits, plans, projects, rental properties, or objects found to this, as well as any licenses or businesses associated with this parcel information. And I can see what status they are in. So for the above ground storage tank, I can see that status is issued. This is the one we're working on currently, as well as any other inspections that are currently, so these are scheduled. You can see other ones that are passed as well. And so you can look at the history as well in here. These are all the inspections. These are the contacts. And if there are attachments added, so this is where I was talking about how you could get plans attached to this right here. If you get them attached to it, attached to the inspection, and I'll actually go to that one just for an example for that one, just so I can show everyone. So these are the parent building plans. So I'm just going to hit quick look. And so if there was markups on this, you would be able to see this out in the field in real time, as long as they were completed and added to the attachments section. And so so if you wanted to begin, let's say your inspection after looking at everything going on here. So this is just a slab floor inspection. I'm just gonna hit begin right here. You can add a checklist. And so for this, it's just a general checklist, and it's a pass fail option. And then you can write any notes and comments in here. Now, I know in the past, I talked to AnnMarie about this, about adding multiple checklists, and she was saying that's not a good idea since it was very tedious to go through, even in the back end, to go click through all of them. And in the past, other municipalities have just hit pass all or fail all for all the checklist items for what's attached to their inspections. So, if I wanted to leave this failed, I could go ahead and do that.
So, Tim, Jason, I just want to add, it's a checklist within the specific inspection. I don't want everybody to think that we're limiting the number of inspections or the types of inspections, but
yes.
So it's within those specific inspections that are requested. You could have a list of checklist items that the inspectors would have to go in, either fail all or add comments to all. And I just wanted to clarify that.
So I could make that right there. And then you could also take any pictures, out in the field as well. So if you were going to take, pictures, so this is what I'm currently seeing. I could use that photo, and I can make any notes and comments from that inspection. So out in the field, that could be used at real time. So, and also adding that, so there is, after that happens, you can go into, if you hit complete, you can mark the, the status of the inspection. So I'm going to mark this one reinspection required since it failed the other items, and I can make, failed checklist items.
Jason, once the photo is added, is that photo available to be seen in the office as well?
Yes. So you see right here where this is the little, downloading inspections and updating it. So the IG Inspect has the ability to, if you even lose connectivity out in, let's say, even if, you're losing connectivity out in the real world trying to do all these inspections, you can update it as soon as you get connectivity to, Wi-Fi or internet access, or, 4G or 5G. You can also update it at that point. And so that's what the updating is for. And downloads any new inspections they be coming through as well.
And then I would assume once we get the customer portal, would that be the same case? It would be live, and as soon as they get it would go in so the customers could then see whether or not their inspections failed, like within an hour or a half hour?
Yes. As soon as everything was synced up, they could see it immediately within their portal. And so a person could also, so the inspectors can also see, what was completed during the day. And so this one, it's got, a negative sign to it saying, reinspection required there for the number 1. Any questions so far other than that? I just want to, and so with this ability, I know we talked about adding more inspections. So let's say, let's say I look at this parcel data and I go, well, there is a, fire sprinkler, in review. Possibly here, maybe we should, add other inspections to that. And so you can see other inspections and where their also statuses are at. So on this same address, we have a PEMO submitted, as well as a WFP. So that's a fire sprinkler system.
Hey,
and
folks.
in the fires.
Oh, sorry, Jason. I was going to say, if you like, go ahead, and if you have questions, type them into the chat, and I'll share them with Jason at an opportune moment.
And so, Joe, this is where you were saying if multiple permits were on, on addresses, you could see, the inspectors could see what was going on out in the field. What do you think of this capability, Joe? I just saw a question from Heidi. What is formerly fire sprinkler system? It's now what is called that was the friendly name that was put in. So the friendly names are what come over in the mobile devices. We can still leave it. I can change it back to make it water-based fire protection system. That's what this is. It was in the past, I believe, in EnerGov desktop, the fire sprinkler system. I think that's what it was called.
Oh, okay. The word formerly
Yes.
just threw me off, but maybe mean formerly, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Nice catch.
And so if you think, you might need to add other inspections while you're out in the field, you can also ad hoc other inspections. So you could also create other inspections as well. I think there was another question that just popped up, Kurt.
Yes. Plans with the downloaded set can we make notes on the plans to the system?
I don't believe you can, since when they come through, oh, back here.
So I might be able to answer that. Typically, when we would only attach approved set of plans to the plan case, because that would be, or permits, because that would be the only information that the inspectors would need out in the field. And those are typically locked once they're electronically signed, and you cannot make alterations to them.
And so what I was also
I'm sorry, real quick to follow that question up, because in the grading and the land development side of that, when we change or see issues with storm drain in a property, we would often make those notes on the plans that would then be later included in the as-built. So that would be an unlocked feature that we would need in land development side.
So that would all be processing, and with the electronic submittals, I know they're addressing all of those issues and concerns, and I don't know how that's going to be worked out, but that's something you definitely want to bring up to your managers and supervisors.
So just to kind of tag on to that, you know, it's the inspectors, I think on both sides like to make notes on plans, not to alter the approved set of plans, but to make notes in the field as they go along, so that they can clarify their corrections. And then also on the public works side of things, we have to use those notes to compare to what we call the as-built set. When we finish a project, we get an as-built set that gets loaded up into the city's asset management plan. And so there is a business practice there that's necessary that I know is different than building and safety, but it's not to change the plan. It would just be to make notes on there, like, you know, a PDF with notes.
Yes, we do have a separate process. You're right, Mark. We have them submit revisions and revised plans, and then that goes into on-base for future reference.
and Mark and everyone else.
That's your first question. It sounds like your iPad doesn't have the ability to make notes on images. That
Hey, you have a second? Yeah. So I don't know if you'd heard maybe from Heather.
Someone's got a hot mic out there?
Official. We're going to have a communications team, and now you're officially on that team working for
Let's see
Heather.
it.
I don't know, had you heard that rumblings going on?
Is that Phil? Is that you?
That's true.
I
Yeah.
didn't either. It was in discussion, and then I got a call saying, you know what, we're going to make this happen right now. Okay.
So you actually can, Mark, make
I
them
talked
up.
with Heather this morning. It's really kind of the way we've been out.
I've muted him.
If this is helpful, so let's say I'm out in the field, I can say, you know, right here, look here. So you can make markups, but it would be, you know, very, you know, not to say childish, but it's not more, you know, perfect the way, you know, everything's written on here. And you could put signatures and text in here as well, if you wanted to.
No, and that would be enough as long as when we do those edits like you're doing with the text, would that be visual? If I have a question in the land development, public works side, I can circle that, send it over to Mark, and he could see what I was talking about. Would that be still almost a live document where we can communicate that way? Or is that just on my set on my iPad?
So if I save file 2, let me see, hold on a second. It'd just be, I think, let me save it onto the iPad for as an example. And yes, I couldn't upload anything of plans that size to what we call EnerGov. So if I reopen up the building plans again, it's just gonna be blank. So, well, take it back. Let me see. It might be actually live. I apologize about that. And it's something I would have to check right now. I have not checked to see if that's live.
Right. Okay.
But if it was going to be live, it would have to be synced. And so until you got in within, internet access, for your, device, that's how it would work. If it was going to sync like that. And I was also going to say you can also add notes to this as well from your inspections to further look at something later on at other points, as well as you could also place holds on certain projects or on the, let's say for an example, you could place a hold on a permit due to certain inspections, not they calling things out and it's not even close to being done or something of that nature.
So what I'm hearing is that little drawing tool that was available would be just right there in the field as you were talking, but not something that you could save and send over to somebody like from Chuck to me or Chuck to Chandra to get clarification on what needs to happen.
I don't think so, Mark. Okay. But I would have to double check on that one for the attachment reaching that, because it would change the overall entire case. As a mixture.
Yeah, the public works inspectors currently use a program called PlanGrid on the iPads that allow them to pretty elaborately, note and send and save those kind of comments. So it's just a true system at this point then that they would probably be relying on. And we're just wondering if we could integrate that, I think is what I got out of that.
Understandable.
Very correct, Mark. Very correct.
And so you also can look at the down of the history of the inspections. So from this, what more would you like to see so I can add more inspections as well to this case? And
Jason.
Yes.
Can you show what their list would look like and how it would route if there's that functionality on there, all their inspections for the day, and does the iPad have the ability to route it for them or just general information?
Yes. So if I just did all, so these would be all my inspections for April 2nd. And as well, and so these are all the inspection. So these would be all the inspections for it, even the ones that were already completed today. There is a routing function, but within the routing function, it's got to be a GIS layer for that. That's currently not built into the map service, so I could not show routing for that.
So what if Tim is out on an inspection and he wants to give that inspection to Chuck because Chuck needs to look at it just for argument's sake, just using two names. How could he transfer that from one inspector to the other, and then it would show up immediately on, I'm assuming, on Chuck's list then for that day?
Yes. So for example, if I just took this one, if I reviewed, this is just an AST piping one, and I'm like, I won't be able to get to it. You can reassign to another inspector right here. So if I go all the way down here and put it into Alex, I can hit, apply changes. And then when that gets updated, that piping one is now no longer part of Merit's list. It is currently now with
when
Alex.
I took a look at that list of inspectors, I don't believe I saw any public works inspectors on there. Is that something we could do now or later, add those inspectors?
I can't do this right now from the iPad, but we can do that later, yes. And yes.
Mark, you would just need Chandra or whoever you designate to get that list to Jason so he can add it in.
Okay.
Yeah, and for that I would need their just their email address. They would be logging in with within EnerGov, since it corresponds with EnerGov, even though they will not be in. If they won't be in the back office all the time, they'll still be out in the field if they're going to be using it.
Mark, when
So
you have
that's
that list, just send it to me and I'll be happy to route it to Jason.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks. Thanks, Craig.
Hey, this is Tim here. If, for instance, a inspection was switched from myself to Chuck, would Chuck get a notification of some kind other than just adding to his list? Would he get a ping or notification that something's been sent to him?
He wouldn't get a ping or a notification. It would just add more to the list, unfortunately.
Okay.
That's all it would do. And so I just wanted to make one more show one more huge thing. So we talked about not allowing certain inspections, and we just used as an example, I believe, was the insulation. And so being able to do that, sometimes it doesn't allow you to create. Should not have allowed me to create that inspection without having certain rights. But you could also add other inspections as well. And so if let's see. These are the optional inspections that don't normally get added to it all the time, but you could always go through. And I did this as just an example, adding in water-based inspections. So you could add those to the permit if you wanted to do, if a person was seeing, a certain water-based functionality was not done at a certain time period. So you could just add, bucket right here to apply change. And that, inspection was created successfully for that. And so now since I just added two more, I just got, I got a request now to do the bucket as well as the insulation. Any questions?
Jason, it looks like we're in a building permit, for
Yes.
example, right now. Do you have the ability to pull up an encroachment permit or a grading permit and see if that's in there and it's working okay?
Yes. Let me hold on a second. Let's see. I don't believe I have any inspections that have been requested for grading, and so to do that, I would have to get switched back and forth between the VPN and that. I do apologize about that, Mark. I just did a quick one for.
Chandra, are you on this call?
I am. I'm listening.
Did you provide a list to Jason of all the inspections for your permit types?
No, we didn't. Again, this is something we have to revisit because it was when we were doing the questionnaires, it was a different approach, and so we weren't going to use EnerGov for inspections, and things have changed.
Sorry. Hold on a second. So I could create. There's only I believe there's only one inspection type for this. And I believe it was just a grading inspection, and I don't believe right now I can even add it.
But Jason, if the list is provided to you, is this an easy, it's easy for you to get in there and add those, right?
Yes and no. I have to make sure I can add, so adding in all those inspectors, yes. And then attaching it to those inspections, I can do that, yes. It's just the hardest part is just making sure you add all the inspections to the workflow. And so does it change depending on, so yes. So how many inspections would be for grading? I know Mark said yesterday there's a whole lot to them. Am I correct about that, Mark?
Right. So for the kind of cases that are going to be in EnerGov, the GRIM plan check cases, they're going to have grading can be pretty extensive. Over the course of months, every daily activity that's going on out there. And on encroachment permits for the large tracts, you know, there's a lot. They go on for a year, and so you're going to have a lot of inspections. The smaller permits, of course, just like building and safety, they might have one or two. So it's a pretty big range from a handful to maybe 100 or more.
Hey, Mark, Chandra here. Is Brad on the line? Is he involved in this? Because this is something serious that we have to decide how we are going to handle inspections. Personally, it's not, I don't care one way or the other because I'm not involved. It's the construction folks that if we say you have to use EnerGov for inspections, they have to change their whole mode of operation. And so that's a pretty big change. So Chuck would need some sort of a guidance. We can't do half and half. It doesn't work. If they are relying on their current methodology and doing plan grid, whatever, then it's just a tying into EnerGov that we have anticipated. But if it's inspections through EnerGov, then it's a totally different mechanism.
Chandra.
So I agree there. I had talked to Brad earlier today, and I got the impression he would be on this meeting for at least a half hour before it's over to try to weigh in on that a little more authoritatively. I think our effort today is to try to understand what the options are, and then I do think we're all going to have to make a decision as a city, as a team. What level of involvement do we want to have EnerGov support us in that effort, or do we need to continue a separate and independent effort? And I think we're going to be challenged over the next couple of months to tighten that up and come together with some solid, clear direction. Because you're right, we appear to be moving in a direction of greater unity and greater utilization, and yet the contract may not have fully contemplated that. So I think we're always going to be asking ourselves that question. Brad said he would weigh in here sometime today for us.
Right. It's not only the weighing in, but also the complexity in trying to schedule inspections, signing off on inspections, all through EnerGov. Everybody, all of the inspectors will have to be doing that stuff.
Yeah, that is the question, and I think today we're trying to get a common language and a common understanding, so we can maybe answer that question a little better here in the week or two to come.
I think Chuck is familiar with the way inspections were done through EnerGov. He's gone through
Yeah, Chandra, we have currently with our programs that we use is all of our capital improvement stuff, whether large job or small job. As a group, as a construction group, I can say with confidence that we're looking for a better way to track the encroachment side and the grading side. Right now, it's still on paper and pencil, so it doesn't work as well. And I've looked kind of extensively with EnerGov. I would see for us, it would be more of a pretty steep learning curve, but it's not unattainable to say that we could do the encroachment grading land development side in EnerGov.
So Kurt, with that, it sounds like our inspectors are at least open-minded to using EnerGov more fully, if that's the direction that the steering committee and the A team and the executive team want to take it.
I believe that is the direction they want to go. Although I won't venture to speak for them, but that is the tone that I hear so far, and the questionnaires would reveal that as well. You know, almost all of every one of these groups was identified as participants in this process going forward, this new world we're headed towards. And circumstances, current circumstances reveal that maybe the world we're headed towards anyway.
It sounds like a possible expansion of the original scope of work, and maybe that's an item you could put on your list for discussion with the A team.
Well, it is in terms of the scope of work for Tyler. It's within their scope of work. They will deliver the technology platform that we will need to do this. It is, I've identified already as a risk to the project, is that we as a city may not have our processes in place so that we can utilize the technology that will soon be available to us. So that's a risk that I've already brought to the steering committee, and they're thinking on that now.
Well, I think Kurt Chandra here again. I think Glen Park had contributed to the way we responded to the questionnaire and what Tyler was given as part of land development's requirements. And so he talked extensively to Chuck, our construction folks, myself included. And his judgment was that there was no alternative to the plan grid way of doing stuff in. And so he said, continue to do that. And what we will do is try to link the information so that you can still function using EnerGov, but not have to change your whole operations. Right. So that was his recommendation. It wasn't mine, it wasn't Chuck's, whatever, but he was the one who said EnerGov cannot get you this level of activity in a mode of operation. And it was his recommendation for the way for us to proceed. And it didn't mean a change in how construction was operating. And now we are talking about something totally different.
I understand. Yeah, we've had this conversation before, Chandra. What I recommend is if you have a real strong reason to not want to go in this direction, then please take a moment to write that up and list describe the rationale for why, and send that to me, and I will submit that to the steering committee for consideration. However, given the way the world is changing, we may be headed into a new world that we may simply have to bend over backwards as human beings to adapt to. But that's up to the steering committee to decide. But if you have facts that will help in their decisions, then that will be great. But really, I don't want to take too much time.
Before we write it up, maybe you could just help us understand before we oppose an effort, because that's not the first thing that comes to my mind. My first effort is to support this 100%. Is it already the direction of EnerGov, the contract, including extensive support, a full support, if you will, of the grading and encroachment permit inspection process? Is that already in the scope of work? And if it is, then we could certainly support that effort, I suspect. And I'm hearing that from Chuck. I'm hearing that from Brad.
Jason, from the technical side, is that a true statement?
It is a true statement, but currently what we have in the questionnaires is only just very standard things. It just says grading inspection, it just says encroachment inspection. And so with those questionnaires already looked at and Chandra going, that's what we're going to go with. And if we're going to add in, let's say, I don't know, let's say, 6 to 7, 8 inspections per certain public works departments, that could be a change.
Yeah. So what that basically means then is that if it's not enough, then we will have to go back and ask for more. And that means asking for something that's outside of the scope of the contract. And I think the steering committee is willing to explore that if necessary. But we have to decide as a business, as an organization, if that's the way we want to go. So again, facts to the steering committee will help them make a decision, and then eventually they're going to give us our marching orders about where we're headed. And then Tyler will help us to deliver the technology that we need to do that. If it's not within current scope, then we will probably make a change order for more work.
Let us know where we do, and we'll of course be very supportive of the direction that the A team decides to take us.
Very good. And I don't want to take too much more time from the intent of this particular meeting because we have a lot of people in the room. But the best way that you guys can help me to get that message across is to communicate your facts, your figures, your thoughts, your experience, and your rationale. And I will share that with the steering committee. But do that sooner than later because they are deliberating, and we would like to get those facts to them before they make a decision. So please send me anything and everything you've got. But try to couch it in a language that is suitable for the steering committee, please. Thank you.
So, Kurt, Chandra again here.
Yes.
I don't have any objection to how construction does stuff, whether it's part of through EnerGov or whatever. It is absolutely nothing that I care 2 cents about. All I wanted to do was to explain the way the questionnaires were set up and say currently that didn't accommodate the inspections through EnerGov. And so it would be a change. How you guys process the change and how construction wants to handle inspections is totally up to them. I'm out of the picture, but I was just giving you the background history as far as the questionnaires are concerned.
Thank you, Chandra, and thank you for being flexible as we move forward. We do appreciate that. Jason, I'm going to hand it back to you so we can continue with the IG inspect. But thank you, everyone, for that. This is very important stuff. Actually, it's more important than just about anything that we're all on the same page with the business direction. But back to you, Jason.
I was just going to make one caveat to what was just being discussed. Was I know you've talked about adding 2 people in for Ventura's, having them as the administrative assistants to implement changes. So potentially they could be the ones be implementing those inspections at a later date as well. If it was deemed out of scope, that way that information could be added in, and grading could use those inspections if that was going to move forward as well. Adding in multiple things for that. So just letting you know that as well, Kurt. But does anyone else have any? So I mean, there's not a whole lot more to the IG inspect unless there's certain things you would like to see within it. I mean, you can scroll through and see what was done on certain days, other inspections, as well as searching for addresses, parcels, and permits within the system. So if I pull up an address, I can see that. So within EnerGov, I can see, all inspections that have been out there for that parcel information, as well as all the permits that are attached to it, as well as plans and projects that are attached to it.
Jason, I'm assuming by doing this too that any comments inspectors make will be available for viewing too, right?
Yes. So let's go back here. So yes, like had this, and this was passed. There would be other comments below if there was comments in there. Yes. So there is other information that could be in there. Yes. And let me just bring up 1 second. You could also create other inspections if you had that capability within that department. So let's say you were next door and you looked at another building next door and it had a permit and you had free extra time, or someone said, you could create another inspection for, other buildings around your certain area if you had that capability. So I think for merit functionality for inspections, I think I only made her an inspector for building and fire for just this example. So yeah, I couldn't even do planning from here, since there would be none.
Well, this is a huge upgrade from our current desktop version, so it's nice seeing this.
And so that inspection, I just looked at that house and that inspection just got added. That's a final building one. So, and yeah, you can always make your comments, and these are the comments that are just made on the inspection record itself. So coming from the back office, so whoever, let's say there's an inspection manager, they can, when they're assigning them to certain inspectors, they can make certain comments before they go out in the field, and that's what would be read here on these comments.
I do have a question regarding the comments too, Jason. We add, a lot of times, I know you can access the applicant and contact information on from the iPad and through the case, but a lot of times they're not the ones that call in the inspection. So as long as we add the contact name and number, our inspectors will have those out in the field as well, right? Because they'll get all the comments.
I do believe, yes. So I think this person right now in EnerGov doesn't have any information other than, I think, just the name. So yes, let's see. So you're talking about a phone number to call and talk to the people who are requesting it, correct?
Correct. And also going further with that, once we get IVR, will it include the person calling in their information, or does it always pull from the applicant and that information that's entered at the time we issue the permit or take the permit in? I'm curious about that.
Well, it would be just the people who would be, I'm assuming that would just be on the original part of the applicant, when that information was added in. And so more people can be added to the case. So let's say, for example, I'm just trying to think, if you're an owner builder and you're going to try to do a residential permit and you haven't decided who your contractor is going to be and you start your permit process, and you could at a certain point add that contractor to that list. They wouldn't be like the main contact, but they would be on the list as well. And maybe that contractor is one calling for the inspection. So it would show all the, and so you can always add more inspections. And for future reference in the client portal, like the citizen portal, they'll be able to add multiple contacts at any point in time to their open cases or permits or plans. If that's helpful for that. But the IVR, I honestly, I don't know. I'm being 100% if it's going to pull from that. I wouldn't assume it would.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the IG Inspect and its capabilities?
Jason, any best practices you can share, or any tips from the field, from your customers that use this, and feedback from their experience?
A lot of the feedback has been they really like the. So if I were to begin this, so adding attachments of like taking pictures of, what they're inspecting, and you can choose, take multiple photos out in the field and make comments while you're, and on is actually fail, like what's wrong with it as well. And then making sure that's attached to the inspection. That way those can be sent to the client. That way they can review those images and why, certain things didn't pass the inspection. That was the biggest feedback for that.
And what happens when you lose connection?
So when you lose connection, you can lose connection for the whole entire time, and you can just hit review and hit complete. But let me just see.
I mean, like Facebook will let me make a post even if I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and it'll post later when I
yes, and this will post later as well. So if I just hit done from here, and I go back out to here, that it'll keep. And see right here it says changes not committed yet.
Yeah.
So those changes aren't committed yet until it saves for those changes. Those changes. They haven't been saved to this file, so I would also have to make sure to go in here and hit this little, circular arrow. And so it's downloading and uploading at the same time.
So as if I'm an inspector and I'm going out to some ranch out in the hills where there's no connectivity, do I need to stop and load all the information into the app before I go offline, so to speak? And then so it's all in there?
Yes, that would be the best practice, is to load everything up once you have internet connection or Wi-Fi, and then if you're going to get to an area where you know is bad, then yes, that way you'd have everything you would need to be out there.
Okay, so if I was at somebody's house and they allowed me to use the Wi-Fi, I could connect up to that and get the stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so there's also.
Go ahead.
No. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any other feedback you've received from customers that you might like to share with us. That sometimes people have actually used this. For example, you said I see this is on. It says Wendy's iPad.
Yes.
Is it how about on Android? Is it?
So the capabilities for IG Inspect are only through Apple. It's iOS and then Windows services. Not Windows services, Windows tablets. That's the only two. It does not do Android.
Okay. Yeah, I think we covered that before in the specifications. And I'm wondering if if Merit's out there, Fire or any of the other Fire, if there's Joe Morelli out there, if they have any questions. Or even if you're going to need it given DHD.
I'll let the other fire staff speak to that for right now. And I'll listen in.
Heidi says not for her. She's good.
Yeah,
Kurt I'm sorry, Heidi, I was stepping on you there. How does this work with the fire doing, say, a water-based fire sprinkler system with, and I'll just use a commercial property, for example, instead of signing off a job card where, the building inspector has the ability to see my sign-offs. If I come out, do the sprinkler inspection, are they able to see that I've approved the sprinkler inspection before they move on?
Yes, so you can see other things moving on within with other permits, other inspections. And so let me go out here. So this is, if I just bring this up currently, this is all the inspections that are currently out there in the field for this address, this parcel. And so it says,
so it's not specific to a permit, it's specific for the address. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Brett, I'm sorry, to elaborate on that too, Brett, we've built in Joe, Ian, and myself, and Merritt had a meeting Tuesday afternoon, and we've also built in some safeguards to prevent our inspectors from being able to sign off on rough until the fire sprinklers have been looked at, and that's going to be a business practice and training, and we can go over that detail with you too.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I guess that was the only burning question I had, really.
Hey, Jason, I have a simple question. You showed us earlier how you took a photo and then were able to add it. Can you load photos from the camera roll?
Yes.
Oh,
it loads those cameras.
I figured it could. I just thought I would had to ask.
Jason, do you mind, and if this has already been covered, just showing one more time how you go to and inspect a parcel, perform an inspection, add a correction, and send it, and then also viewing what permits are either permit statuses are from the field?
Yes. So all right, I'll just go from this parcel information. So I'm just gonna go from here. That's that parcel. I'm just gonna hit the records to this. And so this is all the records that are on this. So currently there's a permit out there that's been issued. There's a PMO that's been submitted, and there's a water-based fire protection services, a sprinkler system out there for review currently. That's what currently is going on for that permit. And so if I look into this, I can also see, okay, all right, well, these are all the I can create inspections from here if I wanted to look at that permit and go, let's create a inspection. But these are all the inspections that are currently out there for scheduling and requested. So I'm just going, so this is a footing, it's scheduled. I'm going to click on this one. Cancel. Back out here. Sorry. I'm going to hit review right here. And these are everything that's attached to the case. So it's the parcel, the location, the type of footing, the type of inspection it is. It's the status is scheduled. The additional info is just attached to the inspection record, but the parent record is what the permit is. And that work class, it's a new commercial building. Status is issued. And then you can also look at the additional info if need be from this. And so I just put in one thing in here. I just put in describe work and I just put in test, but as well as I believe go all the way down to intake, you know, add completeness by, add staff to pick list, since those are the required fields for that. But these fields can also be edited out in the field as well from the inspectors. If they just see certain things that, you know, need be like, you know, let's say the side of the street is, you know, west, they can, you know, go ahead and commit those changes to that permit. There's also an inspection document they can look at to see an inspection worksheet. And these are just, you know, other things. This is just a standard document that was just created for this. You wouldn't, I mean, you could have your own inspection document and, you know, sign it out in the field if you wanted to. You could also, right from this inspection still, there's still the contact. That's the owner representative. It's John Ashker from Pacific Heretic Companies. I can look at the history of what's going on within this permit. I can see what's requested, what was this other inspection was, you know, required for reinspection required. I can also make changes and reassign it to anyone else as well. If I, you know, think, you know, another inspector would want to, you know, should do it instead of me, I can't get to it. That can be done. And then here, these are the plans, and you can take a quick look at these. These are the markups I made earlier with the, as an example with Mark. And then you could also create notes beforehand. And then this is all before we even begin the inspection. So if I want to begin the inspection, I hit that top right corner right here. And so I'm going to add a checklist item. It's just going to be general comments. So add this. And I can give a pass or fail right here and then make my notes and comments. So if I wanted to pass this and say, all footings look good here. And then I could take a photo, or I can choose from documents from the iPad. So let's say that signature we had earlier, that was saved to the iPad. If I save that, I could choose that from documents, add it to this attachment, as well as I could take a photo. Okay.
No, that would be my wife. She's the supervisor.
Gotcha. And so you could hit the, after you add your attachments, this is the info, this is additional info, this is something that had to be built into it. So currently this won't be used for you guys unless it needs to. But, and this is for non-compliance items, you could add that as well. But if I just hit complete, it gets to inspection status, and I change the inspection status to passed. I can make, you know, additional comments in here. All looks good.
And can you, as far as emailing this by or from the field, have you seen other jurisdictions go to all digital where there is no job card and they have contractors at time of application submittal indicate what their email address, the owner email address, so it's not optional, that's how they are going to receive that?
Yes, and in majority of the time, when they've done all digital, it usually goes to their client portal, so things get emailed there to them, or it gets sent over to there, or they have the other option a lot of people use is they do mobile printers, and so they'll print certain things from the inspections and then hand things over to the clients or people requesting inspections.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there is a way to do report from here. And so let's say, I make this sign. This is the contact signature right here. And then this is the inspector's signature. And so you could email that. And so if you hit email, you would just have to enter the email for the person. It wouldn't pull it in, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, so each time you do an inspection, you have to indicate, you have to type in the email.
Unless,
not a big deal.
Yeah, and you could save once, like, let's say if you're CCing it, to yourself out, so you could go to your own, work email that way, and that can be saved from your personal contacts, within your device. But yeah, to the, owner representative, yes. And so that's what I was saying. You could print and then you could restart it all over and regenerate it from that. And now you just hit done from there. And right now it's saying pending to sync. And now it's synced. Oh, and that changes now back in the back office of EnerGov. Any other questions?
Is there any portal available? Yeah, is there a portal available online? So if someone wants to see the status of their project, any customer, let's say it's for their home, but a lot of times the contractor gives one story, the homeowner contacts us, we give them the other story. But for full transparency and visibility on the whole process, is there a way for homeowners to is there any, I don't know if that's in scope or not, and maybe Kurt would be the one to answer that question. So because if I could send an email and select from contacts of contractor and the copy to the owner, there wouldn't be as much of a need for that, because then we could, on every single construction inspection, we could copy the owner so they're aware of everything that's happening. But if that's not a functionality is not available, so I'm wondering how can we accomplish the same thing?
So the functionality is available. It gets sent to the client portal. They get back their intake of what is being out in the field, as well as everything. So and this is what for even electronic blue beam reviews and stuff like that. That all that gets and I'm going to show that later on. That all gets tracked within the CSS portal. It's our client self-service portal. So they'll see what's going on, and they can request inspections from that portal, as well as see when they're scheduled, and then see when they pass or fail, depending on, and see the comments on it.
So Kurt, going off of this, I know that the portal was, I think, part of phase 2, but with the way things have evolved right now, are we looking to push the portal access to phase 1?
I'm not even aware of the portal being in phase 2. So and I wouldn't be surprised if we push towards it, but it hasn't come up yet. But steering committee has tasked me to do a gap analysis to determine what pieces we miss, and that may indeed be a piece that needs to be pushed up or added.
Okay, I may be mistaken about phase 2, but I know it's included in one of the phases, and I was thinking it was phase 2. Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
I may be mistaken. I'll re-review the scope, but I don't recall reading about portal in there.
So the most efficient way right now then to get the information to the contractor from the field again and to copy the owner would be to, if you could do that very quickly for us one more time. I just want to see how many steps are involved in that. Sorry to ask again.
No, you're fine. So you're talking about just, beginning the whole entire process of the inspection? Sure. So there is only one contact on here. If there were multiple contacts, you would see both of them. And this is just the checklist item. Again, I'm just going to add the checklist items. I'm just going to hit add and either pass or fail. So I'm going to fail it. Again, you can take a picture. And make any comments on that picture as well. In doing so, you could also move the inspection status to requires reinspection. Make your notes if you need to over here as well.
Could you also add a video? Let's say you're having to do a remote inspection, and would that be something we might be able to add potentially in the future?
Potentially in the future, but that all is depending on the development of the app. Currently, it only intakes, it just only does pictures.
Got it.
And so with all that information right there, so I just made a small comment. I can hit report here. You can make the contact sign the information. If you're going to use, and then with those signatures being on there, those are all the comments from, originally what was there from the checklist item. Those get added to there, and you can either email or print those documents. And then you just hit done. And it just tends to sync until it gets the internet and you're able to touch the back office. And then once that's done, it's in the back office.
Okay, from the field though, to email it to the contractor and copy the owner, that's the piece I wanted to see. So you have to do what from here?
So you can just hit email, sign inspection report, and just put the email.
There's no connection to the contacts then.
No,
you have to type in the email, and then can you paste the like from the owner contact, because you're not going to have that when you're out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you scroll to the other screen. Can you paste it and then put it in there, or you have to just ask the person out there, okay, what's your email and what's the owner's email, and type it in?
Since I don't believe this contact even has doesn't have their, I believe it should be on here. I want to make sure, double check. I can double check on that one for you, Joe, make sure that people.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to test that out too, and I'm not sure at what point we can test the IG inspect, since we don't have, or if we can right now in the program. But if you could, check on that and let us know, that'd be very helpful for us to know.
Okay.
That's a great question right there, Joe. Do we have the capability to do what you're doing right now, Jason?
Yes, actually, since I'm logged in as Merritt can go and log in with the IG inspect on an iPad or Windows service with her login information. And I believe I'm gonna double check to make sure. Joe can as well.
That's so exciting. Everybody, as I've been saying day after day, it's coming. what we're going to be doing very soon is we're going to be getting together as a team, and we're going to be play acting or role playing our way through this stuff as a group to map out our processes and find the road speed bumps. So it's great to know that we can do this.
I think I saw a question from AnnMarie. Am I wrong about that?
This will be
no, not a question. Not a question. Just a general statement that when we go through that business practice setup, just to ensure that because we don't typically add emails, that we really ingrain that in the training that we need those emails added to our contacts.
Okay.
But what happens when you can't, because they're not going to be carried over? You still have to hand type them in.
But they would at least be in the contact tab of the permits and that way they'd be there, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, got it.
Like Heidi, the example he just showed us only had the and I know it's just because it's the test, but it only had the company name and nothing else. So it's going to be really important that when we're training that we tell them how important that information is.
Any other questions? And Joe, thank you for helping me show some more things in functionality.
I have a question. So
yes,
I'm the newbie around here, so I'm struggling just to keep up with what all of you do and understand your business processes. But what I do remember are the stories that you tell me, and I remember Joe Morelli telling me about inspectors going out into the field, and it's a residence or it's a parcel or whatever you call it. It's a building, and not being able to know that there have been 3 inspectors out there like within the last month, and the person that lives or works there getting all upset. You guys are out here bugging me all the time. And it would be helpful if the person going out in the field knew what the recent history was, like who's been out there recently. If there was a history tab, does it show that, or is it just the history of this?
Yes. No, it's history of all inspections going on within that address or the parent record.
That's it, right? That's what you need, right?
Yes. Yes. So let me just go right here. If I just go here and look at the records, this shows all the inspections that have been on here, as well as seeing all the permits that are attached to that address as well.
Wonderful. I don't think Joe's listening, but I think that was going to address a big business need of his. Maybe Merritt or Heidi can let us know if that's the case. I have another question. You showed us the documents, the plans, the blueprints, whatever, PDFs, and I saw how you did some markup there. What would happen if we have Bluebeam integration? And then, I guess I'm off asking an obvious question, right? If the Bluebeam markup is in there, will it show up right here?
So the Bluebeam would show up if it was added. So what happens with Bluebeam and I guess e-reviews is built in with EnerGov. How that works is once approved plans come through, they automatically get dropped into the attachments folder, and that's where that was coming from. It's coming from the attachments. So the attachments are coming from the permit, and that's where that would be. So it would be you would see all the markups from Bluebeam all on that building plan. That's what you would see.
But it wouldn't be able to.
So Jason.
Yes.
So Jason, going back to my original question, this is Chuck. With Bluebeam, I can add stuff to pictures as notes, as you did with just the normal iPad PDF overlay. But with Bluebeam, you can actually add notes to it. EnerGov is going to be linked with Bluebeam. That would actually solve my question.
Yes, EnerGov is linked with Bluebeam. It's not linked. Bluebeam is not linked with this app, but it is linked with within EnerGov. It's a functionality called electronic reviews.
I got you. Okay, so it's not in the IG app. It's just on it's in the bigger program?
Yes, yes, it's in the back office.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And sorry to be obtuse, but I will be able, if Chandra or somebody marks up something, whoever, marks it up in there, when I'm out in the field, I can see that markup on the Bluebeam modified PDF, right?
Yes.
Beautiful.
So it's any document, any PDF that gets moved over, or any document, or let's say image, JPEG, gets moved over into the attachments, that can be viewed from the inspectors can view any attachment.
But they can't add additional markup. They would need the Bluebeam functionality to do that, right?
Well, I just added some markups to it. I have to make sure that those are going to carry over. They're different markups.
Okay, but that was through this app, so they may not be actually on the marked up PDF, right? Or the Bluebeam PDF. So they could be lost in that case.
Kurt, I think it's a different process for reviewing and approving plans, which then goes into construction. But you can't use that same process for making changes during construction. It has to go back to the original revisions, whatever. It has to come back. The inspectors cannot go make changes.
Oh, right, of course.
Inspectors can't be making reviews. Yeah, the majority of the reason of having the blueprints out there is so they can check to see what markups were made by the reviewers.
See, I told you, new guy, I don't know all those processes. You're absolutely right. That makes perfect sense. They wouldn't be doing that. They just want to make sure that they're in compliance, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And where does that final signature? I saw you signing off on something. Where does that go?
The final signature, it just, let me see, just look at this right here.
It looked real official.
So,
yeah,
I signed for Merit. I just signed a name for Merit. Since Merit's the one inspecting this and out there, that would be Merit's signature. And then this is the, you can write in their owner, developer, and then, or the person's name. But I just made a signature onto the signed inspection report of what happened on that.
And that'll be available for everybody to see back in EnerGov land.
Yes.
Nice.
As well as they'll be able to see this as well.
Oh, everybody needs to see that. Yeah.
They're officially part of EnerGov documentation now.
I guess I am. At least I've got a good shirt on, my fire shirt.
Yeah, and so your wife's clean before go live.
That's right. Does anybody else have any burning questions? This is such a great opportunity to interact with Jason, and we can also think about it. Think about your work scenarios. Like what kind of things are a problem for you now that maybe this can help you address.
Kurt, I guess one of my questions was regarding the checklists and how we create those, upload those. What's the process for getting the checklists in the software?
The checklist would be something I would have to create, Brett, and you could just add ad hoc as many, so when I say ad hoc, I mean, I created a bunch of different checklists for, let's say, building or for fire or for heating as an examples. You could go through and check, go through and go, well, I want to add this checklist. I want to go add that checklist item to, this to this inspection. So if there was more than just one checklist item, since there is only just one, so you can filter by category as well as, it's like there's a library of checklist items. You can also search through if I have the ability to add those in. And I know AnnMarie already addressed this. The reason why it was kind of a moot point with some of the building and safety things was a lot of the people, they just see all these in there and then they just either check them all or check none.
We originally started with checklists for each of our inspection types, and it just became too cumbersome and too laborious to have to check off all the items, that they just defaulted to check all just to get through them. And so it's just something to really think about if you want to add checklist items, that it just adds more checks or more clicks and more steps.
Okay, so it sounds like it's not necessarily required to even use a checklist. Is that correct?
No, because you have your inspections, and you can have as many different inspection types as you want, and you have the ability to add comments when needed. So you don't necessarily, to give you an example, like for like a footing inspection, we could have a checklist that says rebar, check rebar, check underground plumbing and electrical, check under that one footing inspection. So that means they have to now check like 3 different items, whereas they could just check off footings because they know what to look for when they go out there as it is.
Brett,
Okay.
I agree. Less is more on these, because we tried this in the version we have now originally, and it's just so time consuming to do that.
Yeah, that was kind of the direction that my question was leading. So, okay, no, I think that makes sense. Thank you.
Jason, I have another question. I know that people like you, EnerGov systems administrators, can do everything on this system. Are there administrative functions that, for lack of a better term, the super users of EnerGov, the people on the business side that have administrative level, I think you actually call it the admin level privileges. Are there administrative functions they can do to make changes here that we don't have to go to the sysadmin for?
Yes, so certain admin functionality for this could be if you were giving certain super inspectors the ability to request inspections when they shouldn't be. So like for that example, we talked about, I think 2 days ago with Ian and Joe about having that insulation inspection before having, let's say if there was needed a water sprinkler inspection. Like that would be blocked off for certain inspectors. But if you were going to override that, certain admin rights could override that. So certain inspectors could have those admin rights to do that. They could just go in and it wouldn't affect.
Is that the kind of thing we're going to have training for? Like, we're going to have like a breakout session for the EnerGov administrators to teach them their tricks and what they can do?
Yes, we can do that.
Oh, great. That's good to know. I'll have to identify who those people are and get them trained as well. Note to self.
Yes, I mean, and just making sure we have, certain users who don't have, those functionalities as well. You don't want to make sure everyone is a super user or an admin.
So Kurt?
Yes.
Right. So right now, Kurt, just to kind of give you an example, I have administrative rights on the desktop version, and I can go in there and add an inspection type if our inspectors need it, or I can add review processes or case workflows or activities. So we will have that ability too if we have those admin.
Terrific. Great. So I want to know the whole scope of your capabilities. Maybe you'll have even more capabilities now, and make sure that you understand what those are. We all get that training. So I'll bring that up as we begin to develop the training. I'll make sure there's a block of time for super user training. What do you call those people, Jason? Are they EnerGov admins?
Yes, admin rights. Yes.
Okay.
The super users would be like right below them, and then after that you have other user functionalities of inspectors, reviewers, let's say clerks, or people who be intaking fees, technicians. Those would all be have their own level and have their own functionality abilities. So like certain people, let's say if they were doing if they were a clerk, they wouldn't have the ability to be a reviewer. that's not some of the functionality I might not be able to do.
I have another question. Sorry, guys, I'm monopolizing the question. I'm here with my iPhone right now. If I go into the iTunes store, am I going to be able to find IG Inspect and download it?
I haven't tried my phone. Try?
I'm trying it right now.
Hey, Jason, while he's trying that, I have a question. Could a user have multiple rights? Like, for instance, a counter technician, they would have maybe the technician or the clerk rights, the reviewer rights, and maybe inspection rights. Is that possible?
Yes, I just wouldn't put them underneath the category of, let's say, a clerk technician. They would have more of a inspector or reviewer capabilities, and even so, the reviewers can even still do those functionalities as well. They wouldn't be blocked off from the other things involved. So it's like a sliding scale. So yes, they would be able to do all of those things, as well as I can make them attach them to certain departments so they could review. So if they're only reviewing, let's say, planning and development stuff, or if they're only with the, looking at public works reviews, those they would only be assigned to them. And the same goes for like inspections. You can select what type of inspection, or what department they'll be working in. So fire people, will only be able to do fire, that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm gonna, on that email I sent you regarding my users and their rights, I may have to revisit that. And so I'll talk to you about that on Monday.
That's fine. No worries. Kurt, were you able to find it?
No, I couldn't. You folks have a lot of apps, but not that.
Oh, okay.
I'll look it up and see it. It's listed in it's in the Microsoft Store. Maybe, why is it in the Microsoft Store?
Because it's for Windows tablets.
Oh, but it looks like you're using it on Wendy's iPad, so that's an iOS device, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, okay, I guess, it would be in Windows Store, and I should be able to find it in the iTunes Store.
Yeah, it looks like this. It's a little off color green with a checklist.
Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. Mobile device, PC. Okay, well, I'll keep on looking. Does anybody else have any questions? Nope. Well, we have a whole hour left. I'm sure we can make some good use of this with other things. But if there's no more questions, and Jason, is there anything else that you want to share with us about IG Inspect before we close this?
There may be something I can share when we do the Blue Beams demo. I can show how even after, let's say, after they were their reviews and get their permit issued, they can schedule inspections from there. But I'm gonna have to take a minute to set that up.
Hey, sorry for coming in a little late on that request for extra topic. This demo so far has been on the iPad presentation. Would it be helpful to maybe spend a little time on the desktop managing the inspection? In other words, I think what we do is we final a project and then we have to close it out. Would that help us looking at EnerGov on the desktop version to see how we manage inspections?
You can do that, yeah. Well, I'll have to. Hold on. I'm gonna sign on to the VPN, so I'm gonna lose you guys for a couple seconds.
While he's doing that, are folks noticing problems with bandwidth, or is it getting choppy at times?
Yes, very much so today.
All right, I'm getting intermittent reports of that, so it seems to be
a little bit.
Hit and miss.
Pretty, yeah.
Tyler's got an app called Tyler Field Surveyor. I wonder what that is. Jason. Interesting.
You know, Kurt, while we have this little downtime, it was a little hard for us not having a grading permit or a encroachment permit to kind of go through. Are you thinking we might want to do that soon?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
We were thinking it might be helpful to actually pull up a grading permit or a encroachment permit to see the formatting, so we can ask some questions, get some tweaks, see kind of where we're at.
Sure. Now, if that permit is something that they're actually built for us, then certainly we can take a look at it.
What I had heard from Jason when we started this little meeting at 1 or 1:30 was that we do have grading permits in EnerGov and encroachment permits in EnerGov, and that we do have some very simple ability to pull it up and see the inspections. What I was hearing was that we didn't have an elaborate inspection structure, but we do have the basic structure there. Is that?
I think we may be backing into a wonderful opportunity, given that we're finishing this module early. Maybe we can ask Jason we can finish this one and then transition and begin and go over that with him when he comes back.
I'm back right here. Sorry.
Yeah. So Mark, I think let's try to do that. So Jason, while you were gone, Mark was asking about maybe being able to see the grading permits. Maybe when we're done here, maybe we'd be able to transition to that in the remaining time.
Well, no, I mean, I can just show him exactly what's in the workflow for the grading permit. And so this is what was, we talked about earlier today, but this is all that is in there for the grading permits. It's an issuance of permits, and then it's just one inspection. And I know that's not what you have currently. And that was the reason, because what Chandra said earlier about, what was his name, Brian Park, only saying that the functionality would not be, useful for EnerGov for grading and permits.
So I'm sorry, and maybe misspeaking, did we therefore not did we not build something that was part of a questionnaire based on what Glenn Park suggested?
So no, we did build things off of a questionnaire. And so the questionnaire just had just two things in the workflow: issuing a permit and then just one inspection, and that was it.
Okay, that went all the way back to the questionnaire part. So Glenn Park had that influence very early on.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So it is built to spec.
Yeah. Yes.
So just looking at what we do have, what can you walk us through that and show us? I know there's a lot of water under the bridge right now and a lot of changes that may be taking place. But can you just maybe take a little minute here and show us at least what we do have, and maybe some of the screens and inputs and methods and techniques that we might follow to do a great.
So,
before we do that, though, can we draw a line, finish the IG inspect piece, and we can let people go if they're not interested in seeing that more specific piece? Is that all right?
Well, so I thought we had
Jason.
You could take and load a grading permit into IG inspect so we could see how that relates. But if that's not an option, then I guess you're right. We're back to kind of the desktop inspection portion.
Can we do that, Jason?
Jason, if I can make a suggestion.
Yes.
Mark, we could take a building permit inspection, look at all the different inspections that they have. We could have something similar for land development, whether it's for grading or encroachment permit. All you need is a list of inspections, and you could then go there, check that off. So maybe Jason can pull up a building permit and walk through inspections on that.
Well, can we? What I'm seeing right now under this grading permit that he just pulled up, 11. It looks like there's actually data and input fields. Would it be helpful to maybe just go over what we have now?
So just before we do
And how
that,
the inspection process might take place. Like, let's say, for example, let's say the steering committee says, no, just let's leave it where it's at. We've got one inspection for grading. Then we're going to have to live with what we have. Can we kind of see what that is?
So yes, I mean it's going to be the exact same thing of what I was showing you for the building inspections. It's just going to be just a different name on top. That's all. That's the only thing that was going to be different for it. It would have the same ability of the checklist items. Having just a simple checklist items, and then making sure that the correct inspector was added to it as well. And so for this example, I'd have to add merit just so I could access that really quickly. And so doing so, I could also even make comments in here. So I'm just going to put test reading. Let's see.
Jason, are we only allowed one inspection currently under that grading permit?
Currently, there only is one inspection. You could add multiple different ones. It would just be a continuous list of just grading and permanent inspection, grading.
So we would just add that grading inspection, and we'd have 5 or 10 or 20 if we wanted to. We could just add them right in there. It looks like. Is that right?
Yes, you could just add another one in here right now as well.
So we would just keep going down the list, and if we had daily inspections, we could do that. And then we would ultimately want to final that grading permit. Would that be under an inspection module? Like, does building have a way to final the building permit? Is that an action in the menu?
They do have an action.
Once we get done with our inspections, we'd want to final the permit, close it out.
There's actions. There's actions you could do, or you could just immediately just change the permit status to complete or finalized, and that would make the final date as well for that.
Where was that status? I see the permit status is issued. Is there a permit status complete? Final.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Either one.
Can I just interrupt for just a second? So I think we've kind of finished the IG inspect module, unless we're going to leverage back into that. I just want to release the people that were only here for the IG inspect, if we were actually done with it. I just wanted to check so we can let them go. We've got 17 people in the room.
Well, I was going to hop right back over to IG inspect as soon as.
Let's carry on.
That's what I was going to do.
That's all. I'll be quiet. I'll carry on. I just wanted to make sure we kept people in the room if that was what they were here for. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Well, give me 1 second while I hop back over off the VPN. It's the only way I can show everything on the screen.
So, Mark, thank you for bringing this up and helping us to see this. I'm starting to see that there's another gap, right, in terms of the types of permit, the data that you need to be able to do the for example, the grading permit. Should the steering committee ordain that we want that in EnerGov. So this is very helpful, and I'm learning a lot.
So everyone can see on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the grading permit, Mark. I'm just going to bring this up and I view this. I currently didn't add any parcel location to it because I was just quickly trying to go through it. But you can see my comments in there from the workflow details from this. I put in test grading permit and it shows up right here in the inspection record, as well as it shows the parent record as well, and when it was scheduled. It also shows the expiration of the permit, as well as the district and the status of the permit right now. And if I want to look at the additional info, if I want to look at the additional info of the permit, this is what I put in there earlier, just really quickly for the permit of the grading. This is the contact currently, and it does come over with the email address. So Joe and AnnMarie, this information does pull over into the screen if they're here still.
So that's great news, because then that'll just be a really good training issue at the beginning for our stuff. So that's good to know. Thanks, Jake.
And so you could also, you could copy that or add that information, to, the iPad's information. So history, there's no previous inspections found, and you can try to download all previous inspections just to make sure. Any changes if you want to reassign it again or change the inspection type, but currently there is only just one inspection type for grading. And then you could add attachments to, if there's any attachments added to the case, that's where they would appear. And you can also add a note and holds as well. And so if you're going to begin your inspection work, this was just a checklist item, just general comments, and you can put a pass or fail. So for this,
Hey, Jason, I have a quick question while you're doing this.
Yes.
If you put reinspection required from out in the field, will it generate the fee if there's a reinspection fee?
Yes, it should. If the fee is associated, so if we have a set fee of every single time it triggers a failure, then yes, we can have it set up like that. Yes. So in the back office, it would just automatically put a fee due out there for that case.
Perfect. Thank you.
Again, you can just add a photo to your case, Mark. Make any comments to that. So, for example, or even if you wanted to, yeah, that's fine. And this is just additional info that would be coming from the inspections tab over here that is not anything set up. So if you hit complete over here, you would hit the inspection status of reinspection required. Any inspection comments, you can put anything anymore, and that's the same field over here coming from this. And I'm going to go over here to the report side. I'm going to hit sign. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to include to sign the signature. And then I'm going to put this as merit. And so this information is right here on here, and I'm going to hit done. And so immediately this grading permit is reinspection required. And so if you give me 2 more seconds to hop back on the VPN and just reload that and see what comes back up in the back office.
So fire folks, what do you think so far about what you've seen? Is this going to help you with your job? I'm asking you in particular because I've heard more from you than about your pain points. IG Inspect in particular.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially that question regarding the triggering the additional fees. I think that helps. I think sometimes it's difficult for the inspector and the technician to, keep track of how many inspections were initially assigned to a specific permit. And so, yeah, I think that will really help.
Great. I'm curious to see.
I don't have any comments. It's very good.
All right. I'll be curious to see and I need to understand the overlap or non-overlap with this and the DHD mobile tools. It's kind of a part of the map I don't have well filled out of my brain yet.
Well, good. I'm right there with you, Kurt, because DHD to me has only been something that we've talked about, and I still can't visualize anything of what DHD is actually about. So yeah, I'm interested to see what DHD truly is.
Well, Brett, I think we'll need kind of like a session like this where we actually see it, and then after having this session, we'll begin to see where the overlap is. Although it's all pretty well documented in the scope, but it's hard to keep that scope up here sometimes straight. I don't have the side-by-side comparison in my brain yet, ready to go.
Yeah. And at least you have that scope. I haven't even had the ability to see the scope yet. So.
All right. Look, there's a document I can send you that might help. That I've tried. I literally Joe and Heidi and I have been sitting huddled in Joe's office for weeks at a time trying to piece apart all this.
Yeah.
I'll send that to you. It's a document.
Okay, that's fine. Whether I have the time to actually sit down and look at it, I think would be a whole different discussion.
Understood. Yes, thank you.
And then Brett, and I know maybe you already know this, but what we're looking in here now for EnerGov is for your construction permits.
Right.
And DHD will be all of our other inspection types.
Okay.
So Heidi, there won't be any fire functionality that will be met with IG Inspect?
Oh, I think there will, Kurt. I think our building inspections, sprinkler inspections, those types of things should be met here. Am I right with that, Heidi?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and then the DHD is going to be a separate component.
So the fire inspectors, and I'm sorry, folks, if we've kind of wandered off on another path. I'll come back and give Jason back. But what I'm imagining then is our fire inspectors are really going to have two tools, and they're going to have to become well trained and expert at knowing which tool to use for which situation, right?
Yes, and Kurt, that's why we are going back and forth on iPads versus the other option, because as inspectors, we could go out and do an inspection in EnerGov here, and then also, schedule something a half hour later where we would need DHD. So we hope that we don't have to have two separate hardware systems for that, because that would be kind of.
I've got another issue that I'm tracking to try and work out exactly where that lands so we can have a recommendation, hopefully one versus the other. One versus both,
Okay.
And with that, I'll yield back to Jason. Thank you.
I was just going to say, so that inspection we just did that we failed, that required reinspection. I can just show details of this. Reinspection required. It looks bad, and it's just all the information that was put onto here as well. And then it automatically created a V2 of that inspection. So it's the same name, grading permit inspection V1, and then it immediately created a grading permit inspection V2. So it's version 2. If I would hit create, I could reschedule one back out there again. But just for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and say that this passed. I'm just going to hit save here. In doing so, it has the actual start time and date. I'm going to remove this inspection. And so with that, I have all the workflow options done, and I can say, that this permit is, complete. And it has the last inspection date and the final date for this. And it has the expiration date of 4/2/2021. And then we could also trigger it to later on, so also that any extra fees would have been paid beforehand as well. And that can be, certain things within the workflow to not enable things to be, issued, permit issues, or to start inspections until, things are paid. Any questions?
AnnMarie's got a no in the chat. No, AnnMarie, what was the no about? Was there some misinformation? Probably from me.
That was no. That was earlier when you asked if we had questions. Way earlier. No worries.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't monitoring chat sooner.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
So are we back to that point where I have to ask that question again?
Yeah, Jason, my only question was, and I know we quickly created a grading permit. In the workflow, if this permit was given a GIS address or a parcel number, it would be linked to the building and safety permit for that parcel number to say that if I had a storm drain issue or a property drain issue during the grading of a new build, we could not finalize that permit and building and safety would see it, correct?
They would be able to see it within inspection. You would be able to pass it unless, so like, let's say for an example, let me add a address to this.
So Jason, would the linking of the grading permit to the building permit enable that same functionality where we wouldn't be able to final anything until all the sub permits were final? And would the grading permit be considered a sub permit at that point?
Yes, you could do, and that's what I was about to get at. So
that's where I was going as well.
Yeah, there's no linkage here going on within this permit. There's no linkage, even though it has the same address with any other permits going on. But if I would, let's say I was going to look at this APN, I'm going to, open up this folder. And this is the parcel manager. And so within this, I can find all the linked records in here. And so I can see all the plans and all the permits going on in here. And so, and that's where you'd almost become judicial to make things, sub permits of other, larger permits if they end up, crossing paths. And that's the only issue with that would be. But with inspections, you could also see everything going on within that area, and you would be able to also check out, check the streets and see, what's going on at certain houses. If you were, let's say you're grading or redoing, a whole entire road and like all the intersections involved, and someone was also trying to build a house at the same time, or a building, and add a parking lot to it. That could all you would see all the function, all the other permits going on in around your area. You could select on each parcel and go, all right, that's what's there, that's what's there, that's what's there.
So Jason, discuss that further. Like we have the fire department in our case workflow as part of to prevent being able to sign off on inspections and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to link the grading permit to our case workflow, would that prevent our inspectors from being able to give a final inspection if that grading permit was not final?
It would enable them to final inspection, because that would also have to be tied in. They could also see what's going on with it. And so they could, if someone requested it, you could look and go, no, denied from that as well. Or like, I'm out here, these things aren't done, I'm not going to do that inspection, kind of a thing.
Hey, AnnMarie?
Yes, sir.
You probably don't want to do that because there may be multiple buildings. and so the grading will be for the whole project, and you'll be trying to do occupancies on one particular building. And if you say
Right.
now the grading has to be completed, then you won't be able to process that.
No, that makes sense. I agree, Chandra.
But Chandra, we also have the issue on single fire burns where the grading, we have a retaining wall, and do we get like a partial retaining wall, partial grading? Often land development doesn't get called back in until everything is complete. There's no communication between the permitting. I think we need to be able to set it up between large development and single family where we can kind of double check or at least keep us in the loop as land development with the building of what's going on in single residence.
I agree with you too.
What we can do, Chuck, is basically have a notification on file on the building permit that lets the building folks know this permit is not to be resolved until there is a storm drain issue to be resolved. So something like that. We'll have to either do a flag or a notification that would have to come from you to the building folks.
So maybe
right, that's why I was wondering if the permits would be interlocked.
So maybe though, maybe we do it on a case-by-case basis and we really review the best practice for that, because I see the benefit on single-family homes of having the grading permit as a sub-permit and us not being able to final unless that's final. Just the same with our plumbing, electrical, mechanical sub-permits and the fire permits. So maybe it's a bigger discussion that we have.
I would second that. It's definitely a case-by-case size of property issue.
I think where there are issues, we definitely need to talk, and we'll have to have something in EnerGov that kind of notifies the building folks about the issue.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? I just want to make sure.
Believe it or not, I don't. Well, all right. Well, go ahead, AnnMarie.
I was just going to say I don't have any other items either. Thank you.
I think you've covered a lot. I still haven't found the app in the iTunes store, but I'll keep on searching for it. I'm sure it's there. Heidi's got it. It's Heidi's computer, it says on your machine. Anyway, different Heidi.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, if there's nothing else, I think we're going to go ahead and close for now. I'm going to turn it off, but ask the subject matter expert team if you have anything that we can use Jason's time with to go through any of the trackers items. Are there any issues? I've asked that question already today. I think the answer is no. I think Jason has everything he needs. Just one last chance. Anybody need to use the next hour to talk to Jason?
Well, the next hour isn't when is the begin? Sure.
Sorry. Technically, we have half hour left in this session, and then the next session begins at 5.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm getting no's and thumbs up, so I think we're okay. So we'll go ahead and stop now. Jason, thank you very much. I think this is an excellent demo. I've recorded it. It'll be one for the archives. I'll be able to share this with others when they have any question about IG Inspect. We appreciate all your effort in doing this.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. We'll see those of you who are going to join us for Bluebeam. That'll be at 5 o'clock, 5 to 5:30 in this same place, same room. I'll have the system running up about 10 minutes before that. Until later, take care, and thanks again, Jason.
Kurt, I thought it was 4 o'clock, not 5 o'clock. Am I off on my time? 4 o'clock bleep?
Yes, I think Netta was saying, oh, yeah, you're right, 4 to 5. Wow, 4 to 5. Yes, that's right. Thank you. I don't know how I was saying.
Okay, so see you in an hour?
What's that?
See you in an hour?
Thank you. And I'm going to send a reminder because some people already left after I said 5 o'clock. So don't be surprised. I'll see a little reminder pop in your thing about my mistake.
And
all right.
Kurt, that was my question when we first started. So we are at 4 o'clock and not 5?
Yes, I apologize. Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule right now. It is indeed 4 to 5 o'clock. 1 hour. I got that wrong.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.